Hey everyone, so this video is going to be a book review, and the book is called The Metronome Heart by Jensen Harper. So about a month and a half ago, Jensen sent me an email and he asked me if I would be willing to read and review his book, and naturally I said yes. The book sounded really cool. I was really interested in reading it and reviewing it, and this is actually his debut novel. So this is the first book that he has ever published, so this was like it was a really exciting time for him, and so I was excited for him and to read his book and to give him a little bit more exposure with my small channel. But yeah, so I'll just go ahead and start reviewing and discussing the book. I will leave links to the book on Amazon, to all of his social media, to everything down in the description, so you can check him out if you are interested, and I would definitely recommend. So I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about the book. So to start off, I really enjoyed the book. I really liked it. I had a really good time reading the story. So I will start off with a quick synopsis. So it's about a guy in his 20s. His name is Braxton. We start off with him just like kind of going through the motions. He is going to a concert by his favorite band, not like a huge band, but they're a smaller band, and he's going to their concert. In the beginning, he has his best friend named Jordan, and so at this concert, and things get interesting with his friend, and so at this concert he is enjoying the concert, and he sees this girl, and her name is Olivia, and so they're talking and he really likes her, but they split ways. And so the band, that the concert, it's a really small venue, so like concert, when I say concert, it's like a small venue, but he's hoping to meet her again at the next concert that his favorite band is going to be playing at. And so about a month and a half later, he goes. He hopes that she's going. She ends up going, and so they start talking. And then from that point forward, it's kind of just the story of Braxton's life with Olivia in it. What he does, what he ends up doing with his best friend. His parents are a big part of his life. So Jensen sent me an ebook of his book, and so I have like a whole bunch of notes and stuff that I highlighted in the ebook, so I thought I would just like go through those. So one note that I highlighted and I thought was like relatable, a lot of these things that I have noted, I highlighted it and then I have either same or me just like in the notes, because just I related. And so this was the first highlighted note that I have, and I just really liked it because I related. And it says, "There's no doubt that I had friends, but sometimes it was just that I'd like to be left alone at home. I loved books, all kinds, really. Sci-fi was my usual grab and go, but sometimes I like to switch it up, throw in some nonfiction, sometimes history books even. One category I never read was romance, though. It reminded me of all the cliche movies that had constantly been pushed out to kids my age." And I like that because, again, related. The next note that I have here, I just thought it was funny. And he says, when you're slipping something over your head, but it just doesn't quite fit around your skull, so you're stuck there looking like the headless horseman trying to adjust his pennycoat after sitting down for an extended period of time. And I just thought it was funny because I could envision the headless horseman just like... And the next note that I have here is just for Olivia's name. I read that and I got really excited because I just really love the name Olivia, and I don't know why. Like, I've always thought, like, if I have twins are not even like a thing in my family, but if I do and they're a boy and a girl, I will name them Olivia and Oliver. And I don't know why I love those names so much, but I do. I really like the name Olivia. And so the next note that I have is a quote, and it is, "Life is just an adventure best fulfilled with others, simply because we forget moments and memories while alone, yet cherish the ones experienced with the ones we love." And I thought that was true. I thought that was accurate. I like being alone, but I also do really cherish the time that I spend with the family and friends that I love. So the next couple notes here, I wrote same, and I'm not even joking. I wrote same for I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. And so the first one was that I hated small talk like the plague. I do. And the next one was, I tried to be funny, but I knew I was just being weird. And that happens to me a lot. Next note that I have is Braxton, at some point in the story, he has this dream, and it's like a really detailed dream, and so I really liked the description of it because I felt that I could see it. And I also, the next note that I have, I really love the relationship that he had with his mom and dad. He has a sister, but he's not that close with his sister. I don't think that there's any I don't think that there was like bad blood necessarily, but they just weren't the same kind of person, and so they just didn't really talk. And one of my favorite scenes throughout the book was when Braxton and Olivia go to the pawn shop, and Braxton tells her, he's like, pick any camera that you want. And so she picks up this like older one that has film in it that you have to develop later. And so the first thing she does is take a picture of the guy that's behind the counter that sold it to them. And so Braxton just thought that was like super cute, and he like fell in love with her even more because of that. And so I thought that was adorable. The next one that I have here is when Braxton asked he didn't ask her, he was like, come live with me. And so rather than like proposing, I felt that was just a more modern like thing to do. But the next thing I have here is just random, and they were talking about like the TV shows that they like watching, and so he's like, but we liked anything to do with traveling and food. And honestly, same. The next thing that I have here is something that I believe Braxton's dad told him. Yeah, and then he said, you'll always be your best as long as you try, son. Failing doesn't make you a failure, not trying does. And so I thought that was a really good, like, that was a good message. Another note here, eventually in the story, Braxton and Olivia, they go to Seattle, and so I wrote a note that I've always wanted to go to Seattle, and so I think this book made me want to go like even more. Okay, so the next note that I have here is when Braxton finally and eventually proposes to Olivia, and it was such a cute proposal because he had it in his backpack, or so he thought. They were in Seattle, they were at the beach because they wanted to go to the beach, and so he thought he lost it, and so they were like sitting down at one point, and they like rolled over or something, and the ring like popped out of somewhere, and so Braxton saw it, Olivia saw it, and then he proposed to her, and it was just super sweet. The next note that I have here is just something that I was honestly thinking about, like not too like recently, and that I also thought so as well. And it says, I spend my time wondering how the world would be if everyone understood that we are all the same, and in fact that we will never change. We only grow stronger and adapt to our surroundings, and that there is no difference between that and the love we share for each other. And yeah. And the very last note that I have here, it just says, it's at the very end of the story, and I don't want to spoil it, so I don't think I will, but the ending has quite the twist, and so you are going to have to read it to find out. So this last bit, I just really like the wording of it, and it says, we weren't religious, and we weren't not religious. We weren't anything. We were just us. We wanted to live out a happy life and not care about all those little things like religion. And so those were all the little highlights and notes that I made throughout the book that I wanted to quickly share. And so the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that both Braxton and Olivia were both artists in their own way. Braxton was a musician. He ends up being a really like popular musician towards the end. He loves writing music, singing, playing his guitar. Olivia loved to take pictures and for her photography. So I just really like that both of these people are really passionate about things, and they supported each other for their passions. And I don't have like a musical bone in my body. I can't sing. I don't know how to play any instruments. I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano, so one day, hopefully. But I really do love music, and I listen to all sorts of music, and I really appreciate music and musicians. And so I've also like been really interested in photography lately. I was actually looking up cameras the other day to get so I can start taking some. But yeah, so I mentioned that Olivia is a photographer, right? And so the first camera that Braxton bought her, she becomes a photographer and like takes pictures for people. She eventually gets a bunch of like DSLR cameras, but she has the very first one that Braxton bought her, that's the film one. And so one of my favorite, if not my favorite part of this entire book was the very, very end. So throughout the story, obviously there's things that happen. And so when I was reading it, I really loved the writing style because it was really flowy, and like it wasn't super descriptive, but it was detailed enough that I could like understand what the author was trying to tell me and also picture something in my head. So throughout the entire book, I envisioned what I was reading, and so I felt like I was watching like some indie movie in my head as I was reading the book. And so I could see it as like a movie in my head. And so I really like that aspect of my reading experience with this book. Yeah, so at the end of the book, I don't want to spoil like the context behind it, but there's these pictures, these black and white pictures that Olivia takes at the very end of the book, and so I'll show you a few of my favorites right here. I really love one with flowers. There's one with Olivia, and there was one with these steps in a garage up to a house, and so all of these pictures were reminiscent of something that happened in Braxton and Olivia's story. It was something that I envisioned, but then actually got to see through the author and Braxton and Olivia's eyes at the end. And so, like, whatever the thing that happens at the end is not super great, but I didn't actually start like shedding tears until I saw these pictures, until I saw these certain flowers that were a big part of the story, until I saw this picture of Olivia with the pine tree behind her that Braxton was looking at and holding in his hand. And I just absolutely loved that creative concept in this book. So we got the story, we got pictures that not only showed us what the story was telling us, but through the characters' eyes. It was the characters' pictures. And I really, that was so creative and that was so cool. And so I recommend this book so much because not only you get a great story, but you get these pictures at the end that that show you the story through the character's eyes, and it's just really cool. Yeah, in my book reviews, I always go like everywhere. I kind of ramble a lot in my book reviews, so I apologize. But another thing that I really liked was how realistic and relatable the story was. And so when you finish the book and you finish looking at the pictures, then you read the author's note at the end, you learn and you realize that a lot of the events and characters in the book were inspired directly by the author's life. And I thought that was really cool because while reading this book, we got to learn about Braxton, but we also got to learn about Jensen through Braxton. And it was just really cool because it was a cool way for the author to kind of put himself in his story and put himself and make himself vulnerable to everybody that is going to read his book and the world, really. And so that was just really cool how he used a lot of things from his own life to put in the story. And I know a lot of authors do that, of course, but and that they're inspired by things, but it was just kind of, it felt like more personal in this book than any that I've kind of read before, and so that was just another thing that I really liked. And also just because the author, he's in his 20s also. I'm gonna be 21 in a few months, but it's just something that I feel like people in this generation kind of go through. So this guy, he had a passion for music ever since high school. His friends and his family knew that he loved it, and they knew that he was good. But eventually Braxton he's working in this job that he doesn't really love, and eventually after he meets Olivia, after they go through some things, he's like, I'm gonna quit that and I'm gonna just do what I love. And I've read and seen so many things, and so that's something that I've really like kind of taken away from a lot of the stories of like people. It's that once you just start doing what you love, that everything will kind of just fall into place. And that's kind of what happened for him, minus the thing at the end. But like his life was going pretty good, and that I related to that also because I'm still in college right now, and so I entered college as a business major, and I got in the major, and I was taking classes for the major, and eventually I just realized that this was not for me, and I just didn't like it. I had been taking just business classes plus like general eds and the ones that I enjoyed, and so the business ones weren't that bad. But then I took a semester of all business classes, and it was just a bad semester. It was not a good semester in any way. And so I finally changed my major. Now I'm a journalism media studies major, and I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I think that this is a book that I'm going to remember for a long time. And I really, really loved and enjoyed this book. I'm very glad that I accepted his email and read this book. I look forward to anything else that you publish in the future. Jensen, I will be happy to read because you're doing a good job. You're doing a great job. But yeah, like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm going to link everything down below where you can get the book. It's about $6 on Amazon, so go for it, get it. It's great. I will link like his Twitter and all that stuff, my social medias. But yeah, I really love this book. I really, really recommend it. All of my reviews that I do for other people are completely honest, so I'm not kidding ya when I say to go and get this book because I thought it was a really good read, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to this and would really enjoy it. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope that this was a good review. Please let me know if you read this book in the future. I would love to discuss it with you. And yeah, go follow Jensen and all his stuff. Like I said, I recommend it. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!